Expectations of our swimmers. So this is all in some documents we've put on the web. We're going to we've been tweaking those as we've been going this week, and the hope is sometime soon to have republished that and have it sort of in a one area on our website. The highlights: wearing your masks. We need to wear them every day. We expect the kids to wear them from the car to the water and from the water to their car, whether that's kids that are driving themselves or kids that are being dropped off. Seems like every pod that I've witnessed so far has averaged about one swimmer that has forgotten masks. And sometimes it's, oh, yeah, and they're able to pull it out of their bag. Sometimes it's they don't have it at all. So pretty soon we're going to be maybe sending kids home if they don't have a mask.
Jake, real quick.
Yep.
The back masks that we have at Simply Swimming are now there. 180 people signed up for masks, so you can go to Simply Swimming now, tomorrow obviously, and be able to get your mask that you had ordered.
Excellent, great. I'm looking forward to mine. We're going to ask the kids practice social distancing: 6 feet apart while entering, 6 feet apart while leaving, 6 feet apart while waiting, and 6 feet apart on the pool deck. Right, so we're asking that these behavioral expectations extend beyond just the walls of our facility. That we ask that, from the moment you kind of enter the grounds of the facility, the parking lot, basically, that you're following these steps. We'll remind the kids to mind their touches, avoid any shared spaces, and not setting your equipment or your bags or your swim stuff down with anybody else's. One big one that's going to be a bit of a behavior change for our swimmers: we'd really need them to shower before they're coming to practice. We want to limit the locker room usage to emergency bathroom use only, essentially. So we're not showering before, we're not showering after. So you can shower beforehand, please, at home, and you can shower off afterward at home if you'd like. We've been, this is way different, right? And a point we'll make later is that this might be different than how they're behaving or what their expectations are in different circumstances that they might encounter right now. So we've been obviously reminding the kids as much as possible this first week, but maybe not coming down on them as hard as we'll start coming down on them. I was just talking to a coach who had an experience with some older swimmers where the group that was leaving and the group that was coming in, there were some kids that hadn't seen each other in a long time, so they were giving each other big hugs. And the coach was like, hey, you can't do that. And the response was, well, fine, I'll just hug them when we see them again sometime out away from practice. And the answer is, yeah, fine, go ahead and do that. If that's how your family is doing social distancing and that's fine with you and your choices, great. You can't do it at our practice. And we will be reaching out to the parent of that swimmer to let them know that that was their behavior last night as well. And if that swimmer continues to kind of have that behavior and that attitude, then that swimmer might find that they need to find somewhere else to swim this summer. So that's kind of how seriously we're taking all of this. Expectations of our parents: reinforce the swimmer behaviors. You'll see we did a little presentation joke here. Prompt arrival and pickup. This has been an issue, right? A lot of you are coming early, and that's great. You're getting there, and it's a whole new circumstance. If you do arrive early, we want you to stay in cars and parking lots until about 10, 15 minutes before. Especially a facility like Edgewood, that door is going to remain locked. The door we use is going to remain locked. If you've been there the last couple of days, you've probably seen either Drew or I set up a little table letting you in and out. As we go forward, we'd like the coaches on deck to take some of that as well, or we'd like to be on deck working with our athletes. So we can't be there the whole time looking for somebody that randomly showed up 25 minutes early. So please be respectful of sort of the windows of time and don't let your kids show up more than 10 or 15 minutes early. And certainly it's problematic if we're all waiting for a swimmer as well, besides the normal supervision problems. Reinforce swimmer behaviors. See, again, setting good examples, social interactions away from the facility. I was talking to a different coach that was saying, from their perspective, the kids were doing a great job following social distancing stuff and a great job following our expectations, but there's a whole group of parents huddled and talking, and some were wearing masks and some not. And And again, if that's what you're doing and comfortable with your life, and this is your neighbor that you've been, in a bubble with the whole time, that's fine. You can socially distance as much as you want or as little as you want, as long as you're doing it outside of our facilities, right? So we have a duty to our coaches, a duty to our athletes, a duty to the families that aren't you, and also a duty to the facilities, right? Like Edgewood, for example, if they come in and there's 4 or 5 parents huddled in the hallway having a conversation and not wearing masks and not social distancing, they're going to shut us down and we're going to be out of 70% of our pool time. So do whatever you want, just do it somewhere else. And again, helping us help the swimmers reinforce their behaviors. Drew, did someone else want to take over so I'm not talking the whole time and talk about some of this stuff? Is this maybe, I know Petros was maybe going to chime in on some of this, but.
Yeah, I can chime in, but I definitely would like Petros to kind of talk right now, because as a medical professional, he is very well in tune with this. Be able to get on?
Petros, you're
Petros
muted.
is on mute again.
Okay.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
We're good now.
Petros.
Yes, thank you.
So I wanted, can you share my screen?
Sure. Hold on. I'm going to stop my own share. And then I got to click on Petros. And Petros, I can make you a co-host and then you can share your own screen.
Okay, let's see. How do I share my screen?
Bottom center, you'll see
Yeah,
a share screen icon.
So there it should be. Yeah. Can you guys see me?
There you go, Petros. Got it.
So essentially this, this is where we had this discussion with the board and trying to guide us through that time. And what we do is we use models, and everybody has been hearing about the models and about how some people say, oh, are the models right or are the models not right? And obviously the models are not the end all be all, but it is a safe way for people to look at the direction of where this is going. And a lot of people don't understand, why did we shut the country down in March and April, and why not now, and etc. But this is the predominant model that people talk about, which is the model from the University of Washington. And this is the picture of Wisconsin. And Wisconsin, when we socially distanced and everybody stayed home, had the number of deaths at around 300 initially, then 600 or so. And if you follow those curves, by August 1st, that curve would be at 0. And by being at 0 means that everything was under control. And obviously those models are being replaced daily or twice a week, depending on the practices of people. And essentially this is how it looks right now. And it doesn't mean it's going to happen like this, because people are going to react if this continues to be but this is the curve of the deaths in the state of Wisconsin. And about 3 days ago, the projected deaths were by August 1st, about 13 or 1,400, and now they have updated the model to October, and you see that it keeps going up and up and up and up, which essentially is to say nobody knows what's going to happen, because that depends on the behavior. But what that says to us, health professionals, is that this virus is here to stay. If you look down, and this is public data, so everybody can go and study it. But if you see the hospitals in this green light is the ICU beds available. And if you ever heard about New York City and how the system got overwhelmed, the way we're going in Wisconsin at some time in September, October, we're going to overwhelm the system, and we're going to be in the same boat that the other big epicenters were, which is not to say that we have to go back and do, what we did in March and April. Just that point proves the point that this is here to stay. And essentially, till we have a vaccine, or till the virus mutates and it stops behaving the way it has behaved so far, the best data show that we all have to learn how to live with that. Now, a lot of people have said, okay, what do we care? The majority of the people who die are old, and you know, the kids are kids and nothing bad will happen to them, etc. You know, I can attest from my own experience that no, it's not only old people who die. I've witnessed 35-year-old healthy people. I have a lot of friends in the coast. They have taken care of patients who are in their 40s without comorbidities. Yes, the majority of the people are 70 or 80 years of age or 60 years of age with a lot of comorbidities, but there's also very healthy people who die. And essentially for me as a health professional, and again, I'm not you know, representing UW Health's ideas or anything else. I'm telling you my personal opinion as I see it. It's our civic responsibility to, even if this is a disease that only 70-year-old people die, those are our parents and our grandparents. And so I would imagine that I want to teach my kids, and we all in the board have talked about it, we want to teach our kids about civic responsibility and about the responsibility of the community. And maybe this is, in my book, much more important than how fast they can swim 200 breasts, which is very important to them and to us as well. So in that view of how the pandemic is evolving, the big question is, how do you evolve as well with it so that you learn how to maximize the performance and how to make the most of the abilities you have and the resources you are given, and how to teach the kids useful life lessons. And I think I'm not the best person to talk about that. Drew is the best person to talk about it. The only thing I have to say is that everybody who learns how to coexist with that and fulfill their basic missions are going to be the successful clubs and health systems and businesses and whatnot. So I think staying away from all the political, you know, polarization and all the how politically charged this has been, we have a responsibility to look at the data and coexist with the virus and find the best way to do the best we can with the virus. And this is why we are following the principle of the bubbles and of the social distancing in our club. So that's pretty much the medical practitioners' input on that. One other thing that I want to make sure that everybody understands is all the things that we're talking about, they're not something extravagant or something over the top. Is the basic social distancing and responsibility that is the best way to coexist and be successful in that new environment. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Petros.
And as we look at that, Jacob, and thank you, Petros, for that, because the feedback, and as a board, and Drew representing the coaches, and Jacob, is really, we know other clubs, other teams right now are varying how they're interacting, right? There's different examples, how they're interpreting the rules and looking at this. And one thing that we are not going to do is change our commitment to what we've been shared or told through the state agencies, the local agencies, and whatnot. And we're gonna stay pretty hard with that. And it's just until we know, and the various groups and organizations input we give us ways to alter it, we will do it at that time. So we're committed to really, as Jacob put it, we're going to follow the mask rules. We are going to follow social distancing. We are going to remind kids. We understand there's different viewpoints out there and different interpretations of this, but we are going to, stick to our guns and really commit, because one thing that we know for sure, and Petros just said it, COVID's not going away anytime soon. And we have to reinvent and do business differently as a swim team, at swim practices, and that's what we're going to be doing. Jacob, Drew, coaches have been providing input, have been organizing, have done an amazing job to get where we are today. because we wanted to be prepared if and when we got into some pools. And I think we're there. And again, we just have to be flexible. But we, as a board, what we are mandating is we want to be as safe as we can, still get the kids in the water when appropriate, and follow all those rules and guidelines that have been given to us. So that is going to be our approach, and it fits in. We feel it fits in very well as a board and as a part of being a part of this community and our values, and the way we want to support our coaches, swimmers, parents, and all the families. So with that, we can keep going on.
Yeah. Thanks, Rick. Very, very well put. Rick is being very generous to some clubs. I mean, we could also say a different way, right? We could just put it out there. I mean, the swim community is a relatively small community. We are aware of what other places are doing within, certainly around the state, but that doesn't matter, because again, it's a county by county set of rules. We know full well that there are other teams in the county right now that are operating differently, that are operating, to put it simply, in an illegal fashion, in a fashion that does not comply with Forward Dane, in a fashion that does not comply with enforceable local health guidelines. They're just not. We aren't going to do that. We are going to work with the health department to figure out creative ways to make the most of our pool time. But we are not going to do what other clubs are doing, which is right now multiple swimmers per lane is just simply not allowed by Dane County health regulations. It is not now. It is not going to be in phase 2 under the way they have it. So clubs out there that are operating multiple kids that are not in the same family per lane are simply violating health guidelines. And we're not in charge of them. We're in charge of us, and that's what we're going to focus on going forward.